friends. I'm your host, Erin Port, and welcome to the Simple Purposeful Living podcast. Life can be overwhelming and busy, so once a week, I invite you to join me, and together we will make simple tweaks to uncomplicate the hard parts of our life so we can spend more time doing what we love. Hey friend, welcome back to the podcast. I am so glad you're here. Okay, can we all just take a deep breath for a moment? Ever since we got back from spring break, it feels like life is on 1.5 speed. Anybody else? Like this is a really full, busy season. Because if your life looks anything like mine right now, it's awesome and it's glorious. And it's also a lot to think through and manage. Track meets and dance competition season and end-of-year concerts and field trips and banquets and teacher appreciation week. And we've got a few birthdays thrown in, not to mention a few work trips, a few birthdays. And somehow we're trying to do life, work, keep the house running, and remember literally everything. There are a lot of balls in the air. I talk about this in my book, right? Like glass balls and plastic balls. And what are the things that matter? And what do I need to keep juggling? But I just want to say it's not just you. This season holds a lot. Whether you have little kids or big kids or grandkids, there's just a lot going on. Not to mention we have this itch to spring clean. And I keep thinking, why? Because I don't have time right now. And I keep finding myself saying this, right? These are the days. I know they are. I am going to miss these some days. I have friends that are about 10 to 15 years ahead of me, and they tell me all the time, these are the days. And I know that. Like, I love this season with my kids. Like, I love my life. I really do. And there's only one of me. Like, there are days where I'm like, if I could just have one more hand or one way to split myself in half so I can be two places at once. Both things are true. I was just talking about this with my daughter last night, that we can hold two emotions at once. We can hold joy and stress. We can hold sadness and happiness. Two emotions can coexist. And I don't know if you need that permission to just say, like, I love my life. And it's also hard sometimes. I want you to know that I'm holding that too. And I think we can give ourselves permission to feel both emotions at the same time. And I've been thinking a lot about this idea. I wrote about it again in my book, busyness versus fullness. I hear people all the time, and I try to do it too. Like, I'm not busy. My life is full, right? And there's a difference. Like, I think of busyness as like all of the, like, just like the tasks, right? But like full is like, I have aligned my life to the things that matter, right? Like my priorities are being met, right? However, it's still a lot to manage because my life is still full. Like I said, it's full of meaningful things, good things, things I actually want to show up for, things that align with what matters to me and my family. And it still feels at times like a lot to manage, a lot of moving parts. And so I just want to think about today, how can I help us, you and me, manage this season well? Because we've got a lot. The mental load is true. And if you've never heard about the mental load, that's this phrase that's like the invisible list of things that we carry around in our brain that no one else can see. And as women, we oftentimes carry the brunt of that mental load. Like I often talk about, like we tend to be the gatekeepers of our schedule, the gatekeepers of our homes, right? Like there's just things that we think about, like when do the sheets need to be changed? And when is that permission slip due? And who needs new cleats? And have I RSVP'd to this thing? And what's for dinner 5 nights in a row? And my kid just said he needs a doctor's appointment made for his pilot's license. I need to get that scheduled. Another kid needs to have a tooth removed. I need to make sure that I get gifts for Quincy's birthday. Nobody assigned that to you and me, but it just lives there. And in a busy season, not only does the normal mental load take precedence, but the list gets longer. The mental load gets a little bit heavier in season like that. And here's the thing about the mental load. You cannot organize something you're still holding in your head. It's like trying to fold laundry while you're still carrying the basket. Think about that for a minute. It's like trying to fold laundry while you're still carrying the basket. You have to set the basket down. And that is why so many of the tweaks that I'm going to share today are really about it's getting things out of your head and onto something else, whether it's a calendar, the fridge, a list, so that you can actually do something with it so you can fold the laundry instead of just carrying it around all day. And in this season, we don't have it in us to go big or go home, right? Like, I'm like, kind of like with spring cleaning, I'm like, that big task just needs to wait until another day. I do not have time for another big task. And that's why I love tiny tweaks all the time, but especially in busy seasons because it's just it's so full. I only have a little bit to give. And here's what I really want you to hear today. I affectionately call this season in the Midwest, this weather season in the Midwest, the mullet season. Business in the front, party in the back. One day it's 75 degrees and you've got the windows open, you've got the music blaring, and everything feels like summer. And then the next morning, we're snapped back to reality with 45 degrees, a sweatshirt, hat, and wondering what just happened. We're back to business, right? That's Iowa in the Midwest in the spring. And so we don't like just rip down the walls. We don't call a contractor. It's cold in our house. We just walk over and we nudge the thermostat from 68 to 70. I literally just did this because yesterday it was 65 and today we woke up and it was 35. That's it. 2 degrees. Minor, but noticeable. The house feels warmer, everybody stops complaining, you don't feel so cold, and you move on with your day. And that is exactly what a tiny tweak does in a full season. We don't need a new system. We don't need to start over. We just need to make a few small adjustments and we will feel the difference. Because in a season like this, we don't, like I said, have a margin for a full overhaul. We just need a few tiny tweaks. These are small shifts that help us stay nimble. I always think of like a dancer because I've got 2 dancers. I grew up dancing. It's like when you're on point, right? Like you're just really like think of those dancers. They're just really nimble. They move around the stage with ease and flexibility. That's how I think about it with tweaks. Like it just helps us to move around our life flexibly, looking for ways to make our everyday life feel a little easier so that we don't shut down. All right, so I'm going to share today a few tiny tweaks that are actually helping me right now survive a busy season without burning out. These are real life. This is what's actually working for me, and I hope that they are going to help you as well. Okay, number 1. This is something I don't always do, but I crave in busier seasons. Normally, I just look at the week as a whole. The first one is I zoom out and I look at the whole month. So I have a paper calendar that I use, and I normally just use the weekly layouts, write out what I'm going to do each day and that for my work. And then the monthly layout, I normally just use for podcasts. I sketch out what I'm going to do, what guests I'm going to have. That's normally what I use the monthly layout for. However, in busy seasons, I use that monthly layout actually to sketch out our month. Okay, what do we have planned? Is Scott traveling? Am I traveling? Do we have music concerts? Do I have work engagements? To kind of be able to zoom out and say, what do we have going on as a collective in this month? Because what happens sometimes is I have all my long range dates on my calendar, which is normally fine in a normal everyday season. But in this season where it's like ramped up, and we have more obligations, it's easy to say, yes, that works, when I'm just looking at that day as a unit, but I'm not looking at it as a whole, right? Because quickly, every day then can get slammed, and then my whole month feels just so much, right? And so now, before I say yes to a commitment, I kind of like to sketch out the whole month and say, okay, this is what we have on our plate. And then the next tweak I make, this is the next tweak, number 2, I can say, you know what? I think we're at capacity for the month. A couple of years ago, I wrote about this in the book as well. Gosh, I wrote a lot about that in the book. You should grab it. But I talked about during COVID where everything was taken off of our plate. And then we started to put things back on our plate. And I heard somebody say, my plate is as full as I'd like it. And I think it's really important for us to kind of navigate, like, what is it that you could give your permission to yourself to say, we're full for this month. Like for April, quite honestly, we're full. We're full for this month. And so when people ask us to do something else, you can say to them, I'd love to, but this month is already full. Can we look at May or June? And quite honestly, May's looking full too, right? Like, we're full for this month. I used to feel guilty saying that. Like, just last week, I was asked to help out with a track meal. They're like, hey, we need some parents to help out with this track meal that I love. I love that they're doing track meals as a team. I think it's awesome. And I normally, in the fall especially, I can do that with the football team. This season, the date that they said, I actually already have a commitment. So I can't. I can't be two places at once. And the old me would have tried to figure out, like, do I cancel one to be at the other? But the new me is learning to say, you know what? I can't be two places at once, and that's okay. A no for now is not a no forever. I'm just honoring the capacity that I actually have in this season. So zoom out before you say yes and kind of sketch out your month. Maybe that's even just printing off a monthly layout on the internet. You can get them for free. Just Google it. And then sketching it out and then saying, you know what? Does this feel full? That doesn't mean that every day is max capacity, because I'm going to talk about that in a minute, but you can just kind of get like an overview. That's so helpful. Again, we're just setting down the laundry basket so that we can organize. Okay. Number 3, you've heard about me talk about this all the time, but this is essential again in this season. Not only are we going to sketch out the month so you get an idea of like what's ahead, you're also going to plan next week on Friday. And I love doing it on Friday for a couple of reasons. Number 1, I can go into the weekend knowing next week is prepared and planned. I can rest a little bit better. I don't have the Sunday scaries as much because I'm like, next week is planned. I've got it under control. And then I also like it because Scott and I can have some conversations over the weekend about like who needs to pick up who, what are our capacities, where do we need to like call in the carpool, all that kind of stuff. But I spend 15 minutes and I take my weekly plan notepad that we sell in the shop. You can use code podcast to get 10% off, shameless plug. But I sketch out our week. I take our long range dates and I just write it down. What do we have Monday? What do we have Tuesday? What do we have Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday? And my friend Laura Vanderkam says this, which I love in her new book, Big Plans, which is coming out May 5th, that you not only get to plan on Friday for next week so you can relax next, all weekend, you get to plan your weekends twice. So I'm planning next weekend, but I'm also refining this weekend if anything wasn't quite shored up. And our weekends deserve to be planned twice. So I love that. Okay. So make sure you're planning out your weeks. Again, this sounds so small, but again, it's like you're putting the laundry basket down. You're taking it out of your head. You're writing it on paper. You're no longer the sole gatekeeper of your calendar. You're putting that on the fridge. I like to put it on the fridge because my family likes to eat. They can look at it. We can discuss it. Scott and I can say, okay, every day while we're drinking our coffee in the morning, who's picking up who? What are we doing? What time is dinner? We can have all of that kind of organized because of this one weekly planning session. Okay, the next tweak that's really helping me not burn out is that I stopped trying to be, again, multiple places all the time. Scott and I have to divide and conquer. And I think this is especially true for people who have as many kids as we do. We have 4 kids. There is no way I can be all places at once. And does that make the mom guilt just tick up a notch? Absolutely. Absolutely. But last week, let me give you an example. Last week, Scott was traveling for work. Lucille needed to be picked up from dance. We're in our final months of hosting our connection group at church at our house. We do that every Tuesday night. And Solon also had a track meet. So Scott's gone. Lucille needed to pick up for dance. I was hosting a group at our house and Solon had a track meet. Oh, luckily my parents were visiting. So I asked my parents to pick up Lucille from dance. And we had to have a conversation with Solon in advance. Like, hey, bud, I am so sorry. I cannot be multiple places at once. Like, it kills me that I'm not going to be at track, but I need to fulfill this obligation for church. We have 2 months left of that. And I'm going to be at your track meet on Thursday. And so we had that conversation in advance and ahead of time. I think communication is key. I think that's the culprit of so many miscommunications, frustrations in the home, is that we just don't over communicate. I try to always over communicate, maybe to a fault. But we were able to then have a plan. I was at home hosting the connection group. My parents were picking up Lucille, and Solon knew, even though we weren't there, we still loved him. Does it, like I said, does it always, we have to divide and conquer in this season. Presence doesn't always mean parents are everywhere. My therapist has also reminded me that, 95% of the time I'm there. We can get stuck on the 5% that we don't, because negative emotions stick harder in our thoughts than positive emotions do, but that we have to give ourselves grace that we're doing the best that we can. Okay, so dividing and conquering is another way that I am making it through this busy season without burning out. And I'm giving myself grace and you permission to do the same. Okay, tweak number 5 in this busy season. Carpool is community. I have been talking a lot about capability is actually costing us community. Our desire to do everything ourselves without asking for help is costing us friendship and community. And this stemmed from somebody in our community saying, I'm seen as capable, but I'm extremely lonely. And so in these full seasons, when we do reach out and we ask for carpools or we ask for a friend to pick up our kid, number one, you're going to offer to do the same. And if somebody asks you, you're going to say yes if it's within your power. But that neediness, that asking for help is actually building community. And that helps me, that perspective helps me ask for help. Like, actually, this is building my friendships. This is building me community. And not only is it helping me in the moment, but it's helping me to depend on community and to need one another. And that's good, not just for today, but for every day, right? So where can you delegate? Where can you ask for help? Where can you call in carpool? I think that's really important in a busy season. And I even have group chats for days of the week. Like Thursdays, we have a dance carpool, and us moms will just communicate, right? Again, sometimes you have friendships that are just for these sorts of things, right? Like sometimes you have deep friendships, and sometimes you have friends that you're like, okay, you're just all helping each other out. And that's a good thing too. Okay. Number 6, protect your energy during the day. This is really important to me, and something that I've really been working on personally is, again, looking at that calendar as a whole and saying, are there spaces in my calendar, a lazy morning, a quiet evening, a block on the weekend, where we have some time to just rest? This is really important, right? Like, it's not a nicety, it's a necessity, or we are going to run ourselves into the ground. And so like this last weekend, we had a dance competition, and I looked and I was like, okay, but we have a quiet morning. I am going to protect that. I'm not going to be on my phone. I'm going to have a cup of coffee. I might linger in bed a little bit. We might rest a little bit, sleep in, have some time as a family. That just take that time, right? Looking for those blocks of time in our schedule where we can intentionally say, okay, this is a rest time. I'm not going to fill it in. I'm going to protect it. My business coach talks about that, of like literally blocking it out. Like it's a calendar to do item, like rest on your calendar so nothing else gets built in. It's important. We did that for date nights. We have a couple of date nights in this busy season, and we put them on the calendar like they are a non-negotiable event so that Scott and I can spend some time together, because in these busy seasons, that's really, really hard. Okay. The next week is thinking of how you can simplify. Like simpler meals, DoorDash, Instacart, grocery pickup. What can you do to make it just a little bit easier? Again, I love what Kate from Naptime Kitchen said. We talked about this last year at this time. It's a short season. And when I did a workshop recently for the book, one of the things we talked about is the tweak that you make today doesn't have to last next week. It doesn't have to last 6 weeks. It could just be for today. What do you need in this short season? Maybe it's tacos every Tuesday and frozen pizza every Friday. My cousin said peak memory of childhood meals was every Sunday night. Her mom died young, and so her dad raised her. He was a single father. He would get Totino's pizzas, those like $1.99 pizzas, and every Sunday night they'd have pizzas. And she thought it was the best, right? Like our kids have such a different perspective than us. And sometimes we think we need to like be a chauffeur and a gourmet chef and the Uber driver. I mean, it just is so much. What if we just say, how can I simplify in this season? Maybe I have a 5 meal rotation. Maybe for this season, I get grocery delivery every Monday. Maybe just for this week, like last week, again, my husband was traveling. We had a lot going on. I did grocery delivery. I don't do that every week, but boy, that was the tweak I needed for last week. So just saying, what do I need this week? This doesn't have to be a tweak that even lasts next week, but what would help me right now? And then make that tweak for this short season. All right. It's important that we set down the laundry basket so that we can actually fold the laundry. Maybe the last tweak that you need is a brain dump. Sometimes our brain is just so full of to-do items, like I talked about, that mental load, that we just need it to get it down on paper so that we can see it clearly, so that we can fold it, we can make sense of it. I love our brain dump notepad because I just write everything that I need to do on the left-hand side. And I say to myself, like, what actually needs to be done? Like, do some of these things actually need to be done? Are they as urgent as my mind is shouting at me? Can I block them? Like, okay, these are all the tasks of all the gifts I need to buy. These are all the spring cleaning items I need to do. These are all the whatever. Can I clump them? And then can I just tackle them 15-minute timer at a time? All right. Think about that. I think right now, too, the 15-minute timer is going to be your best friend. It is amazing what we can accomplish 15 minutes at a time. I have a friend, her name is Elizabeth, balancing beams, and she's the queen of the 15-minute timer. And she just had twins. So she has 5 kids, I think 6 and under. Maybe they're 7 and under. But anyway, she accomplishes things one 15-minute timer at a time. And I think if a mom of 5 with twin baby boys can do that, we can do that too. And we can take a cue from her because 15 minutes today adds up to just shy of 2 hours this week. And over the course of the next month, 7 hours. So here are the recap of the tweaks we talked about today that might help you survive this busy season without burnout. Sketch out your month on a piece of paper so you can see what you're dealing with. Then ask yourself, is my plate as full as I'd like it? Is my month full? And if so, you say, you know what, our month is full. Can we come back to this next month? Or can we look in a couple of months, right? It's okay, even if it's not 100% full, to say, you know what, it's as full as we like it. Really implement those Friday planning sessions. Sketch out the next week on Friday so you can go into the following week knowing it's planned. Divide and conquer. Know that maybe sometimes you're not going to be at every event, and that doesn't make you a bad mom. That makes you a wise mom, a mom that knows her capacity, knows where she needs to be, and knows that this is a short season. And every day she's just tweaking to be where she needs to be in that moment. Remember that capability is costing us community, and that carpooling and asking for help doesn't make you feel like you're failing, right? I have a quote that I always remind myself of. Asking for help doesn't mean we failed. It means that we're loved and cared for. When we have people that can come in and support us, that is awesome, and it builds community. Remind yourself to block rest on purpose, right? Like look for blocks of rest and Protect them like they matter, like they are the rare gold that they are. That lazy morning, that quiet evening, they don't need to be filled. Those are necessity times where you can refuel, recharge in a busy season. And then ask yourself, is there a place where I can simplify? Is there a tiny tweak of simplification? Grocery delivery, a 5-meal rotation, tacos every Tuesday, frozen pizza every Sunday that's going to help us in this season. I just want to remind you of something before you go. You can love your life, this beautiful, amazing, full life, and you can feel stretched by it. Two emotions can coexist. Both of these things are allowed to be true at the same time. These are the days, but you never were meant to carry them perfectly. You're not behind. You're not doing it wrong. You're just holding a very full life. And maybe this week, instead of trying to do more, you just make one small tweak, like that tiny dancer on stage that's so nimble and light. Nudge the thermostat 2 degrees. Set the laundry basket down before you try to fold it. Let someone else drive carpool. Communicate with your kid. You want to be there, but you have to be 3 places today, and so you're going to be there on Thursday. That's enough. It's actually enough. And if this episode felt like a permission slip, a breath of fresh air in the midst of a full, busy season, would you do me a favor and send it to a friend who could use it? This is how the podcast grows, and honestly, it's just a great thing to do. If you loved it, I know a friend would love it too. And I'd love to hear from you. If you're in a full season right now, what's one tiny tweak, one small shift that's actually helping you? Send me a DM or email me at erin@simplepurposefulliving.com or leave a review and tell me there, because we don't need more ideas in theory. We need the real ones, the ones that are helping us in real, messy, everyday life. All right, friend, I'm so glad you were here today, and I hope you take a nugget with you, a tiny tweak to try. Maybe it's the Friday reset, sketching out your month as a whole, brain dumping, or asking a friend if you can carpool, or communicating with your child how you're only one person and you're trying when you want to be 3 places at once. Friend, I see you, and I'm so grateful that you're here. See you next week. If you liked this episode, it would mean so much if you'd share it with a friend or leave a quick rating and review so others can find our show. Until next time, you can find me at Simple Purposeful Living on Instagram and Facebook.